Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and make sure you turn on a little bell on the side. So once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one of getting all the inside news. Alright, now today I'm bringing you to two news came out this week. Obviously, blessed for the residents and the safety in Melbourne, as we know that there has been some COVID-19 clusters being found out on the north side of Melbourne, so blessed that everyone in Melbourne will be safe and healthy. Now these two news came out from obviously Monday and Tuesday. I thought it wasn't too much of the intent, but it looks like there has been some actions going on inside of the government of Australia, so let's take a look and have an inside look. Okay, now the first one is this came, the title is 24th of May, which is Monday. The title says, no opposition to post-COVID mass migration plan. Now that basically reflects to all our previous estimations and predictions in the past, and also from reflect to all the news that we have been talked about in the past as well. So what does it say? It says the pandemic has stalled big Australia, even though Scott Morrison craves the early restart of and Anthony Albanese is aboard. So Anthony Albanese is actually the opposition leader from the Party of Labor. On the budget, if Josh Frydenberg show that his migration hand, world-beating level, mass immigration, only policy can pop up and see GDP growth model. Now, obviously, that's something is very crucial, as we have previously talked about. It has been estimated there will be over 174,000 Australian citizens leaving Australia this year in 2021, and there's not enough migrants, that's including international students, arriving into Australia. That will actually have a huge issue, although the job rate was the report in the last report was pretty good, but it was basically before the job seeker and job keeper program. So we noticed that has been at least last month 30,000 people lost their jobs, and plus Qantas has freeze their raise of their salary rates and cut a lot of employees as well. So it seems the economy isn't really well, and there has been a lot of news came out in regards to China wanted to do more against Australia. So we'll see what happens. So the COVID quarantine and the vaccination program, that's the problem, because that's a problem not just Australia, but a lot of major countries around the world have that issues. Although that we have seen the vaccination has been going quite well in USA, but last month there has considerably a number of, I think it was 180,000 people contracted with the COVID virus last month. So that is still huge. Now, how would that be affected? And not just talked about the issue in India, although it has softened down the number, but it's still about 200,000 people plus per day. Now that's enormous. I don't know how that will affect the whole world. And it looks like how the Southeast Asia and Asia now is getting all these British and the Indian variant viruses in. Now, so the news basically still considering saying that this self-reinforcing crowd is quite some list. Usually it includes Liberal Party in green, Treasury and Reserve Bank, and City of Government, big business and property developer, immigration lobby, left and right media, academia, unions and churches, mass immigration takes them feel or look good and larger than the influence or wealth. Now, the reason I think the topic has been kept repeating is because the government and the scholar is actually seeing. I'm sorry about all this news with all these ads around. Anyway, problem with all these the population is shrinking. Now that's the major issue, and also the population is aging as well. So that's a huge concern in respect to a nation like Australia, which is the sixth largest continent in the world and only has about 25 million people there, and that will actually create a huge issue there. So before last budget, Labour frontbench Christina Keneally briefly went AWOL cut the post COVID level immigration. She pleaded she was easily neutralized. The contemporary Labour sits more comfortably in the reductionist or left modernist frame. Now that's all the terms for politics. For them to seriously challenge mass immigration is certainly considered impolite and probably racist. Anyway, that's all coming into political talks and debates. Now, obviously, we can see that what's happening in Canada. They're actually adopting the idea and the concept of mass immigration to actually assist the country's economy. But how is Australia going to reflect to that? Since the last budget, Reserve Bank's pro-migration Philip Lowe has wobbled. Economist Ross Garnaut has supposedly switched to a low migration viewpoint. So that's a little bit weird. Yet the Palestine Revolution, as usual, Australian population plan is buried deep in budget paper number 3. The government opposition can pretend these are not just innocent technical parameters, but they are actually moral and political must-have and sugar spun for the Treasury Secretary. So obviously, the government will actually know the numbers. They need the numbers. They need the tax. They need to make money in order to actually gain the country can move forward. The previous budget had net migration rocking back to 201,000 by 2023 and 24. So that's about 3 years away. Implied population growth of 1.2%. The net migration of 2024 and 25 is gonna be 235,000. Now that's in compared to currently, I think that we're sitting at 160,000. Sure, 1.2% rising is no biggie. By the Australian standard, it's still double of the OECD member nations. So what we are seeing here is that they're looking to bump the migration numbers from 160,000 within the next 3, 4, 5 years up to more than 200,000, top at the highest of 235,000. That means a big door is open for migration. So if you're having that thinking of getting into Australia, that will be the key, and the key will be in the next 3 to 5 years. That is exactly what we have predicted, especially after COVID. Population is a big issue. The net migration of 200,000 and rising is still considered normal and necessary, but 200,000 net migration never happened before 2007, and currently we're sitting at 160,000. Just refresh everybody what's happening. 21st century productivity growth is really hard yakka against really strong headwinds. So that basically means it's a tough time here. To have a better shot of achieving 2.25% real growth, that's a mass immigration is necessary. So that's the economist is looking into the productivity plan, where if as a nation in Australia needs to hit 2.25 growth, then obviously in the next 3, 4, 5 years we need to have a mass immigration plan. Otherwise you cannot meet that goal. Look at now at the moment, there is no international travelers. The tourist industry and the international education industry is all dying. How can that be survive? throughout these years, mass immigration is required. But obviously, that before that, the vaccination of the world is required. If a factor in higher education and income inequality and overcommitment of environment undercommitment, the Treasury model 3% growth, that's a question mark. So again, 3% is I don't think that they will hit that mark there. So far this year, non-citizen outnumbered citizens arrive into Australia. So that's pretty obvious. That's all travelers. Morrison, like John Howard before him, will talk big borders and walk big migration. That's how we got into big Australia treadmill in the first place. With or without the international student intake, Home Affairs and Immigration will do their drawn big numbers from somewhere. So as we see the next news that I'm going to show you later on. So obviously they wanted to focus on skill and also GTI we talked about. That's included in the skill, and also the business skill, that's investors, that's all included in the skill visa. So dodging around the family related visas, obviously that's all been capped every year. So simultaneously, high immigration and 2.25 growth, Frydenberg is going to cut unemployment to 4.5% and stop wage stagnations. On immigration and unemployment, Frydenberg is the treasurer of Australia, can pretty much say whatever without serious scrutiny unless a circle of influence fractured badly. So let's read on. Nevertheless, the Treasury Secretary engaged overt political barrack, raising fear older and smaller nation unless we submit to big Australia. So there is still a population in Australia. They still do believe that small Australia will survive. But that thought was still pending on a pre-pandemic level. I would say that will be good. But obviously, we have to face the fact and reality. It's the COVID and the pandemic, and it looks like it's not going to end sooner. So how the economy of Australia will survive, obviously, you still go back to the history and past, how Australia had done it in the past. Always immigration policy is the key. So the next 3 to 5 years again is the key to all this. Now let me move to the next news, which came out yesterday. You might be able to actually find this. So the topic says, now obviously you see that the news reporter says NZ, New Zealand, gets easier pathway to Australian residency. So obviously what's the immigration minister thinking is, there's currently only a travel bubble between Australia and New Zealand. So why don't we accept more New Zealanders, Kiwis, to become Australians? That's one way to go. So they are looking a way to actually make it easier. Now, obviously, if you have seen my video previous talking about subclass 189 about New Zealand stream, it was badly planned, badly prepared. It's not attractive. It's not incentive enough for any Kiwi who would like to actually migrate to become an Australian permanent resident or perhaps Australian citizen. So now I think they have woken up. They should do better. So they are considering to make it much easier. So let's see what happens, how they're gonna deal with all the Kiwis and New Zealanders to come into Australia. And in addition, Commonwealth and consider freezing, extending expiring international student visas. That means they are looking to actually get the student visa and the post study work right longer for everyone, for all the international students. The Morrison government will consider offering extension of freeze expiring working international student visa, according to Immigration Minister Alex Hawke. So that means currently, if you're still unsure, you will probably get that incentive, and the upcoming and future international student, you will get that incentive. They want you to stay longer in Australia. So and how would they propose that? Is it just extending the visa, or make a pathway to residency as well? Let's watch out for that one. So people who have 485, that's post-study visa, work visa, has expressed concern and fears of their visa will be expired, obviously, and the last year they can't seek any jobs, so they will actually extend that visa for everyone who is unsure, and also it's international student. Again, they are looking to prioritize the international student and international education sector, because that sector is actually a very, very large sector that's required as one of the input for Australians' economy and earnings as well. Anyhow, what is your thinking? Do you think Big Australia is good for everyone? Why don't you leave a comment right down below? And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.